All right, welcome back, everybody, to a long-awaited episode of the Fretboard Confessional podcast with your hosts, Chris McKee, and
my name is Cooper Greenberg.
Thank you so much, Cooper. We're back, and people have been wanting us to come back for a long time. We're back in the new format. We were just having a discussion. This is episode 19 of this podcast, but we're going to call it season 2, episode 1.
Is this actually the 19th one?
It's actually the 19th one. But I want to call it a new season because everything's different now. It's like when Saved by the Bell went to the college years, you know? It's a different set. It's a different thing. We're doing it both for recording if you are listening to this on an audio podcast, but you can also check it out on our YouTube channel because we're filming it. And we're filming it in a cool locale. Where are we?
We are downtown, Alamo Music Center, in our acoustic room, flanked by many guitars. We've got our relatively new Taylor wall and our relatively new Martin wall that are looking good.
They're looking good. They're looking well stocked. And it actually is kind of the middle of the day on a Tuesday. Maybe we should just do this with like a live studio audience going forward. Everyone could just come.
If you're trying to buy a guitar on Tuesday, be forewarned, we're in here. You could be on the podcast if you want.
Yeah. It's just people walking by.
Get them on the
knocking the plant over.
Yeah, we got flora and fauna.
There you go.
In stock today.
I really insisted on a ficus, but the palm works. It adds some greenery to the scene. So everyone's been asking us to get back to the podcast. So Cooper, why haven't we been doing the podcast?
Been busy for a year.
Been kind of busy. But I do want to peel back the curtain a little bit. So we have most of the week we aren't near each other. Yeah. Even though
we long.
You're near in my heart.
Yeah.
I've been at our other store on the northwest side of San Antonio, which is at Babcock Road and 410. So if you've come in and you've seen us, hi. It's always great for you to stop in. And I've come down here once a week and we've shot videos and trying to get the podcast done, particularly in this format that we've been wanting to do has been difficult.
The wait has not been for lack of Chris's trying. But sometimes I'm like, I have to eat a sandwich or something.
Well, I love how scheduled and coordinated you are, because we did have like a set time. It was going to be after work. We were all ready to go, and then you're like, "Hey, I have a gig." So
it's that classic Thursday 6:30 set at the Pearl. Yeah, sometimes you got to do it. Yeah,
we should plug what you're doing. So you are doing Favorite Son stuff, but you're also doing stuff with the Texases,
solo gigs, jamming with a bunch of different people. It's been a good time. Recording with all these different people, making music. It's been nice because I don't get enough guitar when I'm here. I got to have some more,
That's the elixir of life.
What have you been doing?
Raising children and playing and preaching at our church.
Classic.
So if someone's a fan and they either live here locally or they're visiting and they want to go see you play with one of the many groups that you grace.
I mean, I'm lazy about my own website because
you're busy with our website.
Yeah, our website. But on my website, coopergreenberg.com, there's shows on there, and then also on Instagram and all that stuff. We're playing usually every weekend. There's something going on. So if you're in town, just let me know. I'll point you in the right direction.
Do the Texases have any more gigs at Stable Hall?
Stable Hall, we got another one in a few months. We did that one, and I think we're all tired from it because I thought it was going to be 2 hours. It was 3 hours, 45 minutes, and it was a lot, but it was a good time.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're doing something else there. It's got to be late summer or something like that.
Okay. So for everyone who's listening or watching, if you are going to be traveling and you want to see Cooper play, that would be a really cool gig. The Texases is a cool group that you're playing guitar in.
Fun country stuff. Lonesome Rose, we play there a bunch. It's a good place to be. There's all kinds of good bands.
Well, and Stable Hall is a cool venue. It's the new venue in the Pearl, which is a cool hang. By the way, I didn't know. I took my wife to the Pearl to Mon Chouchou for our anniversary. Pulled up in my F-250 King Ranch and looked over, and there was a new King Ranch saddle shop.
Yeah,
and I was like,
heck?
"Oh my gosh,
super cool!"
And she was like, "Oh no, he's going to go spend a lot of money."
Have y'all been to the Pullman Market yet?
I have not yet.
You guys got to go over there. It's super cool.
I'm excited, but it was really nice to see home. Yeah, because I'm from Kingsville, which is where the King Ranch is, and so that's why I drive a King Ranch. And
because it's nice.
And because it's nice, but it was fate. It was chosen for me. So anyways, let's get into some guitars, shall we?
What kind of guitars do you like?
All of them. But we picked
That's
some
false.
guitars to grace us during this period of time. And Cooper asked, what guitar did I want? And I chose this amazing thing. And for those of you who are listening, it's the Taylor Swift Baby Taylor that is emblazoned with love. Three
times love.
3 times, which if you have followed Taylor Swift's career, it seems like it should be more than that. But I love this guitar, pun intended, because early on in my video career here, we did a Ed Sheeran, Little Martin, Taylor Swift, Baby Taylor signature comparison. And that was one of the funnest tongue-in-cheek videos I've ever done.
Which one do you like more? For those who haven't watched the video.
For those who haven't watched, I like the Taylor Swift one more than the Little Martin.
The thing, we were kind of talking about it before, it blows my mind that there has not been a refresh of this guitar. It's popular still.
Yeah.
But like, where's the Eras version? You know, where are we going to see? We need the GS Mini, like Josh said. But like you said, big old bedazzled GS.
Yeah,
you know.
They should do a GS that is completely encrusted with Swarovski crystals or something.
So before we get into what I've got, just name off the top of your head artists that you're surprised right now that don't have a signature model, and what manufacturer you think could execute the best.
That don't have a signature model right now? Let me think. Well, so he has a signature model, but I'm shocked that Fender has not done a Jazzmaster with Chris Stapleton yet.
Yeah.
It really just seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
They've done an amp with him, and Gibson has done that Epiphone Frontier, which is cool, but also I was surprised they didn't do like an LG2 because that's what he mostly plays.
Yeah.
And maybe that was Chris's decision. I don't know. But, you know, his Jazz Masters are so kind of like tied to his sound and performance that's shocking to me.
Yeah, I would be into that. I want to see a little Chris Stapleton Jazz Master.
If only John Mayer had a signature model. Just kidding.
Man, I love those, but they're just so inexpensive. It bugs me. You know, that new OMJM 45M 3M.
Yeah.
All that's just too cheap for my taste.
Too expensive. You got to go up from there. Well, so how about you? What artists are you surprised don't have a signature model?
You know, I'm surprised that there was a uke. I'm surprised that they haven't done anything Billie Eilish wise with something. I mean, we had an interesting Phineas Taylor.
We did have a Phineas guitar.
That was cool. That probably could have, you know, if people got the opportunity to buy it, that would have probably been pretty popular. You know, I want to see like a Sabrina Carpenter Espresso GS Mini. Not really. Trying to think of people that I actually enjoy listening to, but everybody that I like is so old that they have signature models. I want to see Eric Clapton's signature model go away. Really? No more Eric Clapton.
It's had its run.
I want to see people get signature models stripped from them more.
I'm surprised. You know, there's been this run of surprising signature models, like, you know, the Bruno Mars Strat.
Yeah,
it's kind of like the elephant in the room, right? It's like it's cool.
Yeah,
but, and he is a good guitar player, but nobody really associates him. With guitar. That'd be like doing, I don't know, a John Bonham signature Telecaster or something. It's like, what is going on here?
Yeah, I mean, I'd buy that. There's just, I feel one.
How has Gibson not done a Greta Van Fleet something?
That's one that I want him to give him so it can be taken away. Let's make this a hate podcast.
Super positive today.
I wish that the Derek Trucks would come back.
Yeah.
I loved that guitar.
There does seem to be a thing where there's some signature models that like just limited. Continue. Yeah. And then there's others that go away. There's been a few really cool Fender Strats over the years that kind of came and went. Mark Knopfler used to have a signature model that I feel like would still sell well.
Yeah, that'd be cool. It'd be cool to see, you know, something Steely Dan based. You know, I'd like to see some Steely Dan
That'd
stuff.
be like 64 different signature models, just depending upon which track
for every,
it was based.
Yeah, every single musician that's ever played with Steely Dan. I don't know. There's just I wonder when a brand makes a signature model, how they're deciding on who to get. Because sometimes we see, like we've seen sneak peeks of Fender ones to come this year, and it's all decent, good players, but it's like, are these people that their management and their team is pursuing this?
Right.
Or is it a vendor decision or a marketing decision? Rick Beato got his own. How do we get our own?
I mean, I really think that nowadays a lot of it comes down to just how many Instagram followers you have, and not just signature models. We've had artists, talk about, to get a record deal. It's like, oh, we love your music and we think you're extremely talented, but you don't have enough Instagram followers, so we're not going to give you a contract.
Yeah, I talked to a guy a while back that was the biggest contingency thing. I was like, well, you have to have this many on Instagram, TikTok, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I got $40. I can buy bots, let's do it. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see, but to your point, there have been some surprising ones that have come out that I don't think the public was really asking for. And it could be maybe that was the love child project of someone that was there that was a big fan of the artist. Maybe it was the artist's management trying to make them relevant or another stream of income, because there is a question like, how much of a cut do they get? How come there's not a Keith Richards Telecaster though? I mean, you can look at like classic people and go, interesting that there's nothing there. Maybe they're not interested. And then there's a lot of new artists that to me haven't really reached that level yet to have a signature model compared to the legends that got them before. And then of course you have influencers getting them, that's very bizarre to me.
It is bizarre. Realizing now that there's like, you go the Sire route. Yeah. Every single one of those 6 strings is a Steely Dan model, with Larry Carlton. What longest running signature model?
The Les Paul.
Les Paul.
Yep.
Also, got stripped away from him for a minute there, I guess, in a way.
Well, no, they still called it the Les Paul. He just didn't. Yeah. Reportedly didn't like it. I don't know.
He didn't like the SG.
So that's what the story is, that he didn't like it. He didn't like the balance on it. He didn't like the sharp horns on it. But other people said he liked it just fine. I don't know. Who knows?
Do you think anybody's ever grabbed their signature model and just been really upset with it?
Probably. I'm sure that's happened at some point or another. Can you imagine how
disappointing that would be?
John Mayer did leave Fender and go to PRS. So, at least there was something he didn't like.
We got to get some...
it could be getting a black custom shop that didn't work out of the box. I don't know.
Who's going to take the helm at Alembic and do a run of mass production Jerry Garcia models?
Yeah, no, it'll just be a PRS guitar. They'll be, here's the Dead version and here's the Jerry Dead version.
Jerry Dead.
So,
you a Dead fan?
Yeah, it depends. I gotta be in the mood for it. And certain songs.
You seen any videos of the Sphere?
Yes. That's trippy.
Either way, that would be cool.
That would be really cool.
So what do you want to talk about today?
Well, let's finish this thing. Yeah. So why did you pick the M36?
I picked the M36 because it's good.
It is a good guitar.
I just saw it and I was like, who doesn't want to sit down with this? I was in between this and the J40 because I like the big cats right now.
That's barely sitting on there.
Well,
that would be viral for our podcast, though, if the guitar slips off in the middle of it. And then you'll find it discounted on our website.
Yeah, that's a pre-owned now. M36 or J40, both good guitars. I'm not a massive Pearl guy, so I went for the M36 because it's cool. Yeah. And a little thinner.
Yep. Studio player secret right there.
It's the golden nugget. You a Vegas guy?
No, I know you are. You know who first turned me on to those? Corey Congilio, who is a great player. Great.
He turned me on to the Vegas scene.
Yeah, did he? I have to talk to Corey about that. No, Corey's great. He's been doing a lot more with social media stuff, and he's doing like lessons with True Fire. Cool. But he did a clinic for Martin, or with Martin for us, and really cool guy.
That's so.
Cool. So what are we talking about today? I've got one for you, and this is going to be a lively one, I hope. And I'd love for people to chime in that listen and watch this online. The question is this. Given current leadership and focuses over at Gibson Guitar, are they actively trying to become or accidentally trying to become the Rolex of guitar manufacturers?
So before we get into it, I want you to lay out like a comparison and like the logic that's taking you there.
So, here's the deal. If you are, and I'm not super into watches. I've got an Apple Watch on. I can't afford a Submariner or anything like that. But from afar, I look at them. And I also will watch things that are going on social media, things that are going on with like the used market. It's funny to kind of see these guys in the Diamond District in New York that are just slinging high-end watches all of the time. I have opinions on how much of that may be just money laundering or something going on, because literally tens of thousands of dollars in just watches. That's a lot of money you can move pretty easily. Department of Treasury, if you're listening. But art can go up there too, and guitars particularly. So, no, but here's the thing. Gibson has, since they've been emerging from bankruptcy, they've expanded their craftery, which is their factory, right? They have focused on trying to improve their product, which is needed. For a long, long time, there have been all sorts of complaints about, their quality control. They've opened these experiences, the Gibson garages, which Nashville, now in London. So they're opening their own stores for people to experience their product in. They are, in a lot of ways, really trying to control what's happening from a retail standpoint, with companies who are dealing their product. It sounds nefarious when I say dealing their products that way, but who are dealers. If you're addicted to Gibson, it is nefarious like that.
Yeah.
And then they're doing some things that when it really hit me, it was what's going on with the vault at the Gibson garage and buying vintage examples of stuff and then selling people shares of vintage guitars, which, Rolex has kind of done. And also doing like, okay, we're going to buy this vintage thing and we're going to, give you a certificate of authentication of it, and then and they're setting their price. So they're kind of, in a way, attempting to control what's going on in the secondary market of used items for their things. Yeah. So, and if you even look at their collaborations, it's like really expensive, inflated price goods from like Brixton and that or Wrangler or whatever, that kind of a thing, And Fender's kind of doing it too, but I think Gibson's kind of ahead of the game on them. So between the experiences, the way they seem to be bringing Epiphone up in price in order to inflate price of Gibson a little bit more, I think and make it more exclusive, so that it's almost becoming the professional musician, the thing you've saved forever for, or the blues lawyer guitar, more so than it even was, and then control the secondary market and have these specific stores. All of those things kind of caught my eye.
Yeah, when I got to go to the newer Gibson garage in London. When I was there, they had security at the door that had to open it for me. It didn't feel like a guitar shop in any way, shape, or form. They have a section in the back that, just like the Nashville one, you can pick from a few sets of wood and put together a custom, which really interests me, because are they really going to like ship a book match set of flame maple across to Nashville to, and then ship it back? It all feels so. It's interesting. It was very similar to Johnny Walker when I went there in Scotland. It was a beautiful place that was kind of a museum type thing. They don't make this stuff there, They don't distill Johnny Walker there. They don't blend it there. But it's all kind of this customer experience thing that becomes very touristy, but it felt very high end. And it's similar to the Nashville one. Like, one, it's insulting, I've said it before, to walk in and have guitars on order for years and see like 5 of them going around
on a conveyor
belt. And it's like, can I sell that?
Yeah.
I got a guy.
Can you just get that one down?
I got a guy for that.
It's paid for.
Yeah. One thing that absolutely blew my mind, which if we get into a thing in this type of deal where we can post photos either in the comments section of this or on social media for you to look, it's not like the pound to the dollar is like 1-to-1, but it's not that far off. And they had like a 1/4-inch cable that was like a millimeter thin. I'm exaggerating, but it was a very,
very thin cable,
vintage style,
right,
10-foot cable, and it was like $60 or something. And it was just like, dude, it's a lifestyle brand,
right,
like you're talking about, and it goes along with Supreme and all these other, it's like the logos on it, people that go there, the average person cannot afford the guitars that were hanging on the wall, but they can spend $100 on a t-shirt, and it's an interesting deal.
Well, it tells you where they're putting it. Like, they'll put one out in LA, right?
Yeah.
They're going to pick these cities where they'll probably be. I wonder if they'll put one in Houston, which is interesting because that would probably have quite an effect on our friends at Fuller's that are huge Gibson dealers. So I don't know if they do that. But, I went to the Rolex store as I was waiting for Apple to replace the battery in my phone a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And, those kind of high-end retail establishments, it is a different game. I mean, Apple really kind of upset the apple cart, so to speak, when it came to retail, because they have the most valuable square footage when it comes to the amount of margin that they make within an Apple store.
Yeah.
But high-end retailers take a different approach. So if you walk into the Rolex store, for instance, it's very sparse.
Yeah.
It's all about the experience, and there is this aspect of perceived scarcity.
Yeah.
And it's done on purpose. Rolex will release a particular model, right? Like a new color GMT watch.
Yeah.
And, guys like John Mayer will go gaga for it because, like, oh, you got the Hulk from whatever year. But, I mean, if we're honest about it, it's not real when it comes to the scarcity. They could have made as many as they wanted to.
Yeah.
The idea, and this is true of guitars too. I mean, let's just be honest. If someone comes out, if a manufacturer comes out with a limited, either for a period of time or limited in number specifically, it's because they've chosen usually just to make so many, and that idea gets people going because a lot of times it might be a good value. In guitars usually, at least, it's a good value, but sometimes it's not. Just like what's going on with these watches. Sometimes you're paying more for the exact same thing in a different color to say you got something limited. So I walked in there and it was this, right? It was the limited edition. It was, and just across the board, it was the scarcity thing. It was like, you can check this out if we deem you suitable to look at this watch. And if you like this watch, you cannot buy that one. You have to go on a 9-month waiting list for that watch.
Really?
Yeah, that kind of thing. Now, what's funny is you can walk into the Omega store, which they're about to open. This is in San Antonio, La Cantera. It's the high-end kind of shopping experience here in town. They're opening right across the way, an Omega store. And usually you can walk in and buy one of those.
That's interesting. I mean,
but it's also usually like $4,000 less.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you get one of their Speedmasters or something, it's going to be $4,000 less than the Samaritan or more.
I think one thing guitars have on their side, and instruments in general with limited editions, it's a different color. I think manufacturers sometimes are smart enough with that to where they're like, we're doing a limited run. Taylor's doing a limited run of, gray 214s or 224s, whatever it is. And it might be like $100 more than a standard. Guitar manufacturers sometimes, if it's a color change or whatever, they make it accessible. We've seen it with Heritage. We're getting some cool ones that we're going to do on the YouTube channel tomorrow, I think. And they're priced the same as the standard ones. It's just cool because, you can get it in Pelham Blue when it's always just in Cherry and Sunburst, whatever. The other thing is when Taylor says, hey, we're doing a limited run, and it's based on their ability to get the organic material to do it, whatever grade of wood or species of wood, exotic stuff, then it's like, okay, this makes a lot more sense than a green Rolex. But we got that one Bob Taylor selected set of wood,
right? And
they didn't make a PS14 with it. They made it like a 414, and it's cool. I think there's a little bit more of a down-to-earth nature with some guitar manufacturers, at least. I will also say that I think when I was there at the Gibson Garage, at both of them, they're both interesting and they're fun to be around, But down the street from the Gibson Garage in London, you have Denmark Street, and there's all these old school and some newer ones, but they're all guitar shops in this area. And then you kind of reach the end of the street, and please forgive me if you're from London. I'm not familiar with anything at all. So I just kind of walked around until I found guitars and stuff. But right by the Gibson Garage, there was a Yamaha store. And the Yamaha store was very pretty, much, much larger than the Gibson one. I know the Gibson Garage had similar to the Nashville one, kind of this back area for artists, and they have stage and all that stuff, I'm pretty sure. But Yamaha one's 3 floors, guitars downstairs. They had stuff that I then found out was not even available in the United States, which bummed me out. Main floor, they had, I think, band and orchestra and digital pianos, and then upstairs they had acoustic pianos. And it was a very cool store. I don't know how much they're selling off the wall, or if they are selling stuff out of the store for it's more just like a showcase type thing. But thing that I thought about is, which can segue into our next topic, although I do kind of want to keep going with this. Sam Ash closed.
Yeah.
It's a lot of real estate that has baked in music retail customers around them that have been around for a long time. And we heard some rumors that some brands may be interested in taking over some of that real estate, which, especially at the one in San Antonio, I don't know how any single brand besides maybe Yamaha could fill up that much space.
It's a massive store.
Like, I don't think Gibson has enough guitars.
You think it's like 30,000 square feet, that store?
It's huge, yeah. I mean, it's like a Best Buy or a Target. You know, it's crazy. So we heard some rumors that I don't think are happening, that some brands might be taking over some of these places. It is so short-sighted to me, because every once in a while we'll have some that comes in and says, I want a J45. I've been looking for one. Right. You guys have them. I'm going to get a J45. Usually that customer's like, I want to play a J45, but I want to play a D18 as well, and maybe 28, because I don't know if I want mahogany or rosewood. And then I also want to try out, that's the benefit of having a store that sells different types of stuff. Yes. Because most people want to try out different things. Right. People come in from Martins all the time that play a Taylor that they fall in love with, and vice versa, or Gibsons, Yamahas, or they try a smaller brand like Ferk. I mean, it's like wild, and I wish we had a way of keeping track of how many people actually buy the thing that they came in to buy versus how many people have a bit of an idea and then end up getting a bunch of knowledge and finding something else that is better for them. But yeah, I think more and more brands will probably do direct-to-consumer retail stores. And I think it's going to be tough, because you're alienating yourself, maybe alienating some customers that are pretty close to buying a Gibson, but they want to make sure that they don't want a Martin or a Taylor or a Yamaha or whatever, it's just interesting. I would like to see how, I think pianos, it's easier, I guess. We have some Kawhi galleries, and that's like, I think it's different to an extent, but
I'm gonna get myself in trouble. Pianos is backward and archaic and medieval in the way that most of it's practiced. And so, maybe so. But yeah, it's funny you bring that up, because that was kind of on my mind. I don't know that what Gibson's doing, if they are trying to follow like the Rolex playbook, I don't know that it's necessarily a bad thing. Yeah. I think there's strength in recognizing that, you are in some way a lifestyle brand and trying to lean into that and increase margin in your products. I mean, that's what every business wants to do. But to your point, there is a downside. That same day that I was shopping, first of all, I hate shopping. I love shopping. I hate shopping. I hate clothes shopping. I hate shopping, period. So when I have to spend an entire day in even an upscale shopping mall, I'm not a happy camper.
Yeah, if I avoided shopping and I avoided going to La Cantera,
you wouldn't have those.
I wouldn't have gotten this incredible deal on these women's pants.
I'm glad you mentioned it. Yes, Cooper's wearing women's pants, but they are great, except for the lack of pockets in the back.
Yeah, no back pockets.
Where do you keep your wallet?
Right now it's in my desk, because I didn't want to look like I had a bunch of stuff. But yeah,
they're very flowy, pinstriped.
I hate a front pocket wallet. Yeah. Can't stand the front pocket wallet.
I'm with you on that.
I got to sit on the wallet. I'm like George Costanza. Like, I got the back issue to, But yeah.
So let me tell you what happened. So I'm shopping. Yeah. Begrudgingly, because I'm waiting hours for the Genius bar to
perform the Touran.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I should say this: I'm not typically notoriously cheap, but Apple hasn't come out with anything that's really excited me when it comes to phones for a while. So I'm still rocking, like, I guess it's an iPhone 12 Pro Max. And when the battery was going bad and the phone's in perfect condition, and it's $80 to change a battery and $1,200 to buy a new phone, I changed the battery.
Yeah.
But practically speaking, I'm like, okay, I'm here. I'm going to buy something for my wife because that's about the only shopping I do. And then I'm like, I need new socks. So I went into the Nike store, which in that shopping center is directly across from the Apple store. And it was set up in a very similar way. Now, here's where this kind of idea of trying to follow someone else's playbook can fall flat on its face.
Yeah.
Nike's a sporting goods brand,
Yeah.
right? Their store was sparse. And all that was in there was like the athleisure type stuff that's not really for sweating in, you know what I mean? It's like the Nike stuff that you want to look cool in for a hip hop video, not that you would actually wear to do stuff. And all I wanted was some socks, man.
Yeah.
And all of the socks they had were terrible.
Where are the socks?
So first
Bring
of all,
out the
I actually
socks.
couldn't find socks. And then I asked an associate, like, do y'all have socks? And they're like, hey, we have them here, and we have them here, and we have them here.
Yeah.
It was the same selection of socks in the 3 locations, and they were terrible.
Yeah.
And so then I went to a Foot Locker that carries all these brands, and they had an amazing deal on socks. And I bought a bunch of socks. So Nike didn't get any of my business. And I also didn't buy Nike socks, as it turns out, when I went to Foot Locker. So
That's interesting.
yeah, it's kind of like Apple having the store within a store in Best Buys.
Yeah.
That has probably gotten them more business, having that strategic relationship, than if they'd only had their stores, even though their stores do a lot for their brand. So.
Yeah. You know, when I was at the mall last, I went into, it was formerly Finish Line, but I think is now JD Sporting Goods or Shoes or something.
Finish Line was a better name.
Finish Line was cool. I went in to buy some tennis shoes. They opened late, bugged about that. I got to the mall at like 9 because I wanted to get in and get out, 9 in the morning. And I realized nobody there opens except for Chick-fil-A. So 12 nuggets later, I'm like,
it's just you and a bunch of senior citizens that are doing their walk
they're
through
walking.
the mall.
But I went into that shoe store and they had everything. I wanted some Adidas. And they had like 40 people hanging out that were salespeople, and every single one was like, "You need anything, bro? You find everything, bro?" And I was like, "Ah!" And I left, and I didn't buy anything. And then I went to the old trusty Tacova store, and they're super nice, and they're like, "Hey, man, take a look around, try and let us know if you want to try anything on. You want a bourbon?" That's what I'm talking about right there.
That's experience.
So official today, Alamo Music will be serving bourbon to everybody that comes in. We don't check IDs.
I'm sure that's
Kids
in the budget.
get over here.
I'm sure that's in the budget. Yeah.
Yeah,
We have
I
a high
mean-
school down the street from our downtown store, by the way. That couldn't go wrong.
Yeah,
in any
Fox
way,
Tech, they need to blow off a little steam after school, man. That's what I did at Health Careers.
So, going back to Sam Ash, it'd be interesting to see if someone takes advantage of that. I do think there's, like you said, limitations with the single brand approach to a store. But the question that comes up with Sam Ash, I did a video on our YouTube channel. It's gotten a lot of, I think, really great comments about my thoughts and what led to their demise, but also opportunity for independent stores. The question that comes up to me is, will independent stores pop up? Are we going to see an increase of mom and pop places because of these closures, or will that business just get absorbed by the marketing behemoths of Sam Ash and Guitar Center and, AMS and these other, large kind of online stores?
I think it's going to be really tough for anybody wanting to open up a mom and pop store that is not already independently wealthy.
Yeah, they say, if you didn't know this, the secret to making a small fortune in music retail is to start with a large fortune. So
Yeah. So here's a few things I think about. One, we all saw it over especially the last few years. I mean, there was COVID boom. Sam Ash and Guitar Center, I think, made a really good amount of money from people starting and lower end stuff. But especially at our local store, Chris and I still went over there. We both knew people that worked at, both Sam Ash and Guitar Center. And we gladly, if we don't have something, we would refer people over there. And I heard referrals from Sam Ash. Luckily in San Antonio, at least, I think people helped each other out, sent people to the right place. If we
kind of
didn't have
know our
stuff.
own strengths.
Yeah. So I would go in there. I like to go to guitar shops on my days off. And I went to Sam Ash about 2 weeks before I heard that they were going to close. And, it was low in inventory, but and that makes sense because they were probably clearing stuff out already, but it's been like that for a long time. Like they have a Taylor wall that's like 3 times the size of this one.
Yeah.
And the last 5 times I went in there, they had like an Academy, GS Mini, and maybe like a 600 series, and the rest was either empty or filled up with
Michael Kelly's. I just guessed.
So then on the other hand, so I think it's going to be tough, you know, for a lot of people to get inventory that aren't already existing dealers. I mean, we have been around 95 years now. We are waiting on a SJ200. You know, it's not like there's a bunch to go around.
Right.
Like we need an SJ200. We sell them fast. It's going to be a wait to get the next one. And then on the other hand, so many companies now require insane buy-ins to get any sort of preference for online dealerships or best pricing, whatever. And so if somebody, like if you and I were like, we're going to go start a new store, we want to carry Martin, Taylor, Fender, Gibson, and Yamaha. That's an insurmountable amount of money for like 2 dudes that are like normal people to get into, you know.
It's a tough deal. You know, I've had this conversation. People have asked why we don't carry certain brands, and some of the brands are really good brands that we used to carry. As an example, is Siegel. I like their guitars, and when I started here, we carried them, and we stopped carrying them. And it wasn't because the product went down. It's whenever you have a certain mix, there's certain things that sell well, and certain things that don't. So there's a lot of stores that maybe wouldn't be able to hit some of those buying requirements, and they would carry a brand like Siegel. Maybe that's a high-end brand, and they'll sell that really, really well.
Yeah.
What happened in our store is as we built up some of these brands, you know, then we would just sell more Taylors, and the Siegels would just kind of stay there, particularly the higher-end ones. And so then you have to decide where you're going to allow your space, and that's something I think every single store needs to do. But the difficult part of that is, you and I both know, in our industry, and this is true of every industry, right? There's the models that sell and the brands that sell, and everyone else is kind of like an also-ran in comparison. Once you get out of like the top 7 or 8 top brands and top models, like within the 10 spot are 50 companies, you know, fighting for number 10. And that can be really difficult. Now, you can be successful as a small mom and pop shop with some of these kind of alternative brands, if you do it right and focus on some things, but it's a tough biz.
Yeah, and I also think about it's not just we need to stock these guitars. There's all the accessories. So many stores are trying to get a handle on shipping nationally, listing things online, running a successful online business, and we're in a lucky position to where we have 50 people on staff maybe, and even then sometimes it's like
it's tough.
There's a lot to get done, and we don't have enough, you know, time to get it done. And I just think about, like, we have some good friends that are not too far from San Antonio that it's like a couple people like trying to run a shop, and they have really good stuff. I also think about, like, we have been around for a long time. I feel like we have kind of made a name for ourselves, but there are still brands that we are on waiting lists with too. You know, if you saw our recent video, I want Santa Cruz, I want Collins, but these brands are like, we're building barely enough guitars to satisfy the dealers that we currently have. We're not adding anybody. It's like, just build one more.
Just one more. We'll wait for it. Years ago, I coined a phrase to our boss, Zach, and I called us a 90-year-old startup. Because, you know, it's 95 years Alamo music has been here, and it's changed so dramatically in the last 10 years that I've been here. That it does feel at times like a really old, really young company.
And if it's underlined by what we hear from certain reps that worked for other companies before that come back and now they work for new companies, and they're like, they finally come in and see it, and they have a completely different picture of what it was 10, 15 years ago, which is cool, because about 10 years ago, who showed up? And, you know, for me, that
was me. For everyone who's listening, I waved at the camera.
I came in here 20 years ago. I planted the seed. I've been coming here for 20 years.
There you go.
And I, you know, You jam with Maurice enough.
We knew when you were 7 years old what the
Yeah.
future held.
Groomed.
So reinvention's the name of the game. I think, in this industry is in particular. I think if a mom and pop wants to open in the vacuum of Sam Ash, it's going to, what I said in the video is it's going to have to be niche. It's going to have to be very focused. And I think that's the key to success. So here's the question, going back to the Gibson comparison real quick, just for funsies. If Gibson is following the Rolex playbook, or we're going to liken them to being the Rolex of guitars, we got to name some other watch companies and what guitar company that they're like.
I want you to take the watches because I don't know anything about watches. I'm not a luxurious person.
But see, that's the thing. It doesn't have to be luxurious.
Well, I have 2 watches in my possession. Both were
You
given
have a
to
nice
me.
watch.
I like my watch. I have 2 watches and they're both Longines.
Yep.
So I'm going to make it up and say that's Martin because that's what I like. And that's what,
That's a great pick. It's a very classic brand. It's very
Understated
well-known,
luxury, yeah.
Understated luxury.
So who you got? Who's the Apple Watch?
Who's the Apple Watch?
Lava guitars.
Lava guitars for sure.
Very popular.
Yeah. No, it could be, Yamaha might be likened, or Yamaha might be likened to like the Apple Watch.
Yeah, that's fair.
Focus on technology, kind of an excellence when it comes to manufacturing and marketing and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Who is Omega? Now, also a classic brand, not as high end as Rolex, has its own, fan base and James Bond's preference currently anyway.
I mean, you got to take that one. My first thought is Taylor because they're moving in right across the street and making things way more accessible. And they have really nice stuff too, but they have entry-level things that can be high quality.
So I liken Omega to Fender. And let me tell you why. Probably arguably the biggest competitor to Rolex. But it's part of Swatch, which is like this huge company of all of these brands that cover all of these different price points. And Fender kind of does that really, really well.
Yeah.
From Squire to Fender and, all of the stuff that they kind of got their hands into.
Who's Casio?
Who is Casio? That might be Taylor, actually.
I think that might be Casio.
Or is Taylor more like Seiko? You got Seiko and Grand Seiko. Really respected, not European per se.
Japanese?
Yeah.
Yairi, dude. Yairi. Yeah, how about we need to expand this into other luxury lifestyle brands.
Okay.
Taylor is Rivian.
Taylor's Rivian.
Yeah. They're always pushing the envelope.
Broken down on the side of the road?
They're broken down on the side of the road. Actually, Rivian is the American Acoustasonic Jazzmaster because a charge never holds as long as you think it will.
That's hilarious. You know what? I really like Rivian.
Yeah.
But it's a product of people that were building trucks that I don't know if they'd like never used trucks or they didn't test them to do truck things. But if you watch any of the videos on the internet, it's like if you take a Rivian truck and you try to do truck things with it, you'll find its shortcomings really, really quick.
Yeah.
People have put like dirt or gravel in the back and then
It just spills out.
Well, no, what happens is you have all of these pockets of things.
Yeah.
And it finds its way down into these crevices underneath the bed and there's no way to get it out. Which again, to me, only happens if non-truck people built the truck.
Yeah. What's the Cybertruck though in this business?
I got to think of the guitar that I hate the most. Oh, I got it. It's not in production anymore, but years ago.
Firebird X?
No, we got this Ibanez. Josh will remember this guitar. We got this Ibanez guitar that had a chaos pad built into it that was detachable so that you could play and you could hit it. But the minute that guitar arrived, you know what I said? Someone's going to steal that chaos pad. And guess what happened?
Chris stole the chaos pad.
It's in my backpack. No, so
Somebody's gonna steal
then
that.
you end up with a guitar with a cutout for chaos pad and cables for the chaos pad with no chaos pad.
That's cool. I mean,
that's the Cybertruck.
Yeah. I think Tesla and Rivian are like the they're like new brands for guitars. They're like the brands that we get a bunch of dealer like inquiry emails from people like you read. Yeah, we'll give them to you. However, side note, did you see the new Silverado EV?
I did.
Why'd they make it look like that?
Like an avalanche?
Yeah.
I threw up in my mouth a little bit when I saw it.
Avalanche was gross. And I saw a video that was like, here's some features. And it was all that bed stuff where you can open up and bring down the seats and extend it. And I was like, that's kind of cool. And then they were like, check it out. And I saw it and it's gross.
I don't know. I don't know who's designing cars nowadays. It's whoever designed the Pontiac Aztec is behind a lot of it, I think.
Walter White, dude.
I mean, how that ever got green lighted, is beyond me. But there's guitars that happen in our industry like that. Like a Fender Screamadelica gets green lighted, and you're like, who?
Don't say that. We still have one on the wall.
If you want, listen. If you are a big fan,
that brings us back weirdly to the beginning, which is Primal Scream's a good band. Screamadelica is a great record. How did that record get a special art top release when they are much larger in the UK than they are here? I mean, people like Primal Scream here, but they're a band from England, and we got a Screamadelica guitar, and it's fine, but it's like you have to be a fan of that specific album to like that guitar.
The best thing about that guitar was it came out in order to honor the 30th anniversary of the album release.
And we got
it was released right as COVID hit, so none of them actually arrived to any dealers that year. So they ended up coming for the 31st anniversary is when we got them.
That's
and
cool.
Nobody cared, and Fender never followed up with the marketing again. So, but I did find out that they seem to sell in Europe, probably because that's where there's more fans. So if you are an international fan and you happen to be in Europe and you want one of those guitars, I will ship it to you.
Fly to Texas. You got to pay full price for the guitar. So speaking of interesting artwork on guitars, we got a GS Mini with the dragon on it, and it looks pretty all right. We're going to see a bunch more art top guitars from Taylor, I'm sure. We're going to see a lot more printing done by Taylor and Martin, and I'm sure...
Well, the technology's out there, so now it's just going to be everywhere.
It's gonna happen. That's got to be 5 years from now, something we look back on and say, can you believe they did that? Or do you think I'm wrong?
No, I think it'll just kind of, it's going to be a big deal right now because it's new technology, and then people are just going to get used to it. I mean, there's been stuff for a while. I mean, Martin's done like the Felix the Cat guitar and that kind of thing. What I kick myself about sometimes is I've usually recognized when something's going to be popular and go up in value. So when we had those Monterey Pop Jimi Hendrix Strats that were coming in made in Mexico, I really wanted to buy one, but we were selling out of all of them, and I couldn't in good conscience buy one and rob the company of profit because I'm an idiot. But now they go for a huge premium in the secondary market.
Yeah, think about that Rocky Strat too. That one took years to actually get, and then we got them. They were both pre-sold, and now you can't find one on Reverb for less than like $5,000 for a made in Mexico Rocky Strat.
So they may just do more of that kind of a thing with this technology. Is going to be my guess. And I'd like to see some cool subtle finish options that pop up from a more affordable standpoint. I saw something the other day that looks really luxury, and it's kind of like when you have a paisley design, but it's dark with dark. Like it's a very subtle, almost like ghosted kind of paisley. Cool. I'd love to see that on some like a black guitar with like a ghosted paisley on it.
So
it could be neat.
I went to the Guinness, storehouse, and it was cool. They have a thing there called a Stouty. Have you heard of that? Mm-mm. So you get a Guinness. This is why this is insane. One, you go through Guinness, you have to buy a ticket in. You go through this entire like museum thing and a gift shop, and then they give you a ticket at the beginning with the ticket that you purchase, where you get to the rooftop thing and you redeem your ticket for a Guinness. You cannot buy more Guinness. You get one.
That's it.
You can't go up and say, I'll have another one. So we drank our Guinness, and it was like a $50 Guinness because we skipped the whole thing. We just wanted to get a Guinness from Guinness. And then we thought like we could get it and then buy some Guinness up there. No. So they have a Stouty there where you get your Guinness, you take a photo of yourself, and then they print your selfie onto the foam of the Guinness. And check our website for latest pricing. Prices change all the time, but I'm pretty sure it was like $40. 40 euros, actually. So you get your face on a Guinness, and then you take the first sip, you're gone. You know?
All right. Okay. So listen, I'm making an executive decision right now for marketing here at Alamo Music. We're going to set up a booth. I don't care what the expense is. I'm not going to argue with Zach. This is happening. Okay.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen is you're going to come and you're going to visit San Antonio. You're going to experience some great Mexican food at Alamo Music, and then you're going to purchase a guitar and go into a booth and take a photo, and we're going to print that.
That's what I'm
on the
getting
top
at here.
of the guitar.
That's what we're heading towards. Taylor's going to let us put something on a print top. I'm
It's
sure.
just going to be our face, like.
But they're going to have to provide machines for other dealers where it's like we can be like and print somebody's desired design on. And then it becomes like we're a T-shirt shop down on the Riverwalk, and
You know it's going to happen.
the
of course,
whole
right?
industry changes, you know?
You know it's going to happen. Here's
Yeah.
where it's all going to go wrong. There's going to be arbitrary rules about what you can and cannot put on these guitars for
Yeah.
obvious reasons.
Yeah.
It's kind of like trying to get a license plate and people try to sneak boobs in there or something like that.
Yeah, the ass man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, people are going to be trying to print stuff on there. A few people will get away with it. And then these guitar companies are like, well, you can't do that. And then people are going to be like, well, that's arbitrary. You can't
Yeah.
block that. And then sometimes it's going to be like a real, like,
And
this is my
then-
last name. And
Ken Paxton gets involved, and we start getting legislation on this thing, and we're blowing the roof off. And sooner or later we're back to the Stone Age, where we're building guitars with a box of scraps in a cave.
In a cave.
So I don't know how long we've been going.
I got one more thing I want to talk
Yeah.
about. And then we can call it for this episode. And we'll have more episodes. So that's a cool
Yeah,
thing.
we're in a groove.
We're scheduled. We're going to do this thing. But the thought occurred to me, and I wanted to get yours. It's top 5. Ready? Movie about music. Doesn't have to be specific guitar. Top 5 movie about music.
I'm just going off the dome with this.
Yeah.
First thoughts I've got: Almost Famous, Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story. This is in no particular order. Walk the Line,
Yeah.
Inside Llewyn Davis, and God, I'm gonna think of like 1,000 more after this. I gotta think of one more, and that one is. Are you thinking of yours? Do you have yours already?
Yeah.
Okay, so I got Walk the Line, Walk Hard, Inside Llewyn Davis, Almost Famous. My 5th one. You say yours. I'll think of something in the
So
meantime.
some of them are going to be the same.
Yeah.
Inside Llewyn Davis.
Yeah.
Okay. Walk the Line. Ray.
Ray, that's a good one.
I also love Walk Hard, mostly because the whole Beatles bit. That's one of my
Yeah.
favorite things
Yeah.
in any movie. And then I have a soft spot for Mr. Holland's Opus.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Man, now I'm not even thinking about music education movies and other time. I'm just thinking about The Rock. Forthcoming Timothy Chalamet Bob Dylan biopic.
No.
No.
How about the Andre 3000 terrible Jimi Hendrix?
Oh, that was god awful.
They couldn't even
And
get a
it's
Fender guitar
definitely
in
not
that movie.
Bohemian Rhapsody. Definitely not Rocket Man. I got a bone to pick with those movies. I think, can it be nonfiction?
Sure.
Song Remains the Same. That's pretty fun for me. You know what? Actually, take that away. I love. I'm not going to put Get Back because that's miniseries.
Yeah.
I'm going to say the Martin Scorsese, George Harrison documentary. That rocks.
That's a good one.
But now, when we shut this down, I'm going to think
You
of
gotta
like
think of it.
40 more.
Honorable mentions for me would be Tar. I thought that
Tar?
was good.
Yeah, I thought that when you said Mr. Holland's.
Soloist is. I really like that.
Yeah.
And then there's.
Oh.
Yes.
Whiplash.
Whiplash. And so
Yeah.
I was watching that for like the 16th time with my
Yeah.
kids as they were showing one of their friends. And both of all
So
three of my
good.
kids are
Yeah.
musicians, 2 of which are drummers, and the youngest has learned Whiplash on drums,
Oh man,
which
Yeah.
is impressive.
That's a good one. Very inspiring and scary.
Well, yeah.
Well, so is tar, in a different way.
Yes.
Both make you feel icky a little bit. Yeah.
There's so many great choices out there.
Yeah.
One that I haven't watched yet that I really want to is The Last Band Shop. Have you heard about this?
Didn't that win an Oscar?
I think so.
I think that won
Yeah.
like a yeah. That won
Yeah,
an
I'm
Oscar
anxious to
last year.
watch that. This Spinal Tap has to be up there.
School of Rock.
School of
I
Rock.
can't believe I didn't think of School of Rock. Gary Busey, Buddy Holly.
Oh, that's a great one. He's not even talking about buttered sausage in that one. Which is, by the way, not a real Gary Busey
Let's do
video.
dishonorable mentions. Elvis. I
Elvis was
hated that
pretty
movie.
bad. And I haven't even seen Priscilla, but I'm going to put that right up there with it.
What about
You hated Tom Hanks and Elvis.
oh my God. He's done for me. You know, I loved him. Elvis, he just ruined Austin Butler. Luckily, he was Fade Ralpha and kind of eclipsed his Elvis performance.
Although he had
Didn't
probably
like
the
it.
most weird delivery of any line in the Dune movie.
May
It's just
thy
like,
knife.
May
May
thy
thy
knife.
knife chip and shatter.
Chip and shatter.
That's the best
With
part.
the
dude.
little smirk.
Yeah. And then, yeah, dude. Let's just do a Dune quotes episode.
You know what we should do? I'm throwing out an idea.
Dune.
Everybody watching or listening, you can let us know your thoughts on this. But, you know, Bill Simmons has his sports podcast, right? And then
Yeah.
he's got the rewatchables.
Yeah.
Right? And they'll watch these old movies and they'll kind of talk about them on a podcast. It could be cool to, like, visit old rock documentaries or
Yeah.
like concert movies.
Yeah,
and
that'd be good.
One of my favorite ones, I don't know if you've seen it, it's Don't Stop Believing, about Arnel Pineda joining Journey and like how they found.
I
him
have
and
not
stuff.
seen it, but I thought it was good.
That's cool.
We should do a rewatch of one of my favorites ever, the 2014 NBA Finals, Spurs Heat, the redemption year.
That's a great, yeah.
That's our next podcast.
Anyone who
Yeah.
thinks LeBron's the GOAT, go watch that Out in 5 series all over again.
We think about that sweep last night, Celtics to the
Yep.
finals.
Yep.
All right, we'll leave it with this. Let's assume, which we shouldn't assume, because that makes a LeBron out of you and me. Am I right, guys? Let's say the Mavericks get in.
Yeah.
Mavericks, Celtics.
I think Celtics, man, they have been on the cusp for a few years. I think the Mavs are putting this thing together.
Yeah.
You know, with Luka and what's his face?
The Denier.
The Denier. Yeah, I think the Mavs are going to be a force to reckon with, but I feel like the Celtics have kind of been there, and they're getting over the hump. So yeah, I'd put my money on them.
So besides the Spurs, who's your second favorite NBA team?
That's tough. I've liked the Celtics. It's more like what team do I loathe least outside of the Spurs? I like the Mavs. I support the Mavs. They're a Texas team. I like them more than the Rockets.
Yeah, not the same with the Rockets.
The Rockets. That I-10 rivalry is greater than the I-35 rivalry.
You know, the Celtics for a little bit there with Brad Stevens, it was like the Spurs of the East kind of vibe. I think that's why I got the feel for them, and I like the Mavs too. I think the Wolves could be cool.
Could be cool.
They got some good cooking, but you know,
Well,
it's all over now because we got Wemby. We got the alien dude.
They're not coming back. Right?
It's the Spurs. All right, Spurs in 4. I'm predicting it now. 2025 NBA Finals.
It's going to be Wemby, the current staff, most of the current guys,
Current roster.
and whoever they draft in number 4 and 8.
Yeah.
Eat it up, people.
Party time.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for listening.
Now that
We're
we've
back.
done the sports talk.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we are back. So expect
We're
these.
so back.
We're
Yeah.
going to be doing these. The plan is right now every other week, but he and I will be on hiatus for a bit because we are going to Europe. So we haven't announced this yet, but we're going to FERC. So
time.
if you guys have any questions about FERC or anything you want to see while we go on that trip, make sure that you drop us a note and we will try to get footage of that. I'm excited about that trip. Europe's going to be fun. My first time, not yours. But
It's not your first time.
It's my first time to Europe. Well, not technically, yeah, but I was little. Scotland doesn't count when you're like 6 months old.
Did for you.
Yeah.
It set you on a whole path.
Did. So thank you guys for tuning in to the podcast. Yet again, we are back. Season 2 is going to be great. If there's anything you want to cover, drop us a line and we will get back to you. Thanks so much and keep playing.